Well, hey there. Welcome to my stream. Today we are looking at this page, and we're gonna kind of collapse everything down and make it mobile friendly. Big quotes there. So if you're here, thanks for joining. If you're not, all right then. So I'm just going to pull up the code and kind of see where we're at. I have not even touched this since we were last here on Friday. So we've got a whole bunch of variables defined up here. And it looks like I did a pretty okay job of breaking up my CSS. So that's cool. So one thing that I was asked privately was why I put everything into one file. Why don't I break up my Sass with breaking all of this stuff into different files and then including that in like a master CSS or master Sass file with includes calling to all of the other files. Am I plugged in all the way here? Oh, sorry about that. Alright, there we go. I think I might be sounding better now. So to answer that question, that's just not the way I work when I'm working at such a small scale. I've only got 300 lines of CSS here. If we, once we're done today with breaking this into a mobile design, I'd be surprised if we had 500. And that's just not a lot. So with other design systems like big frameworks like Bulma, Bootstrap, stuff like that, those are going to be the systems that will do that. And then that also helps with modular CSS. Since I'm working with just one page, I know that everything is going to be here, right? But working with a bigger like source code base for the HTML where you have like multiple pages, it would make sense to create a CSS file just for that page and then pull in the Sass. And that's going to be some like really high level performance optimization. So say for example you're working, and you've got like a standard layout. So every page is going to have a header and a footer. So you always include the header and footer CSS, right? But sometimes, you just don't need heroes on that page. There's going to be components that you're not using on that page, and then it makes sense to kind of modularize that CSS and not pull in that stuff that is not being used on that page. And what that's going to do is that's going to, in the end, decrease the load of the file being transported. It's going to increase your response time. It's going to increase your overall site weight. All good things. But when you're working at this level, let's just run Lighthouse on this real quick and see what that turns up. That should tell me the total weight of everything. Should have ran this on desktop. There we go. Oh, alright, there we go. Cool. So it's going to be pretty small overall, right? I mean, pulling up Finder here, we can take a look at where this is. Just this whole thing is going to have a weight of, calculating size, 5.8 megabytes, and most of that is going to be right here in this folder because some of these images are huge. Yeah, like This one's 1.3 megabytes, 1.7. Yeah, so some of these files are huge, and I haven't done any optimization here at all. And we see already that our performance is at a 92. Accessibility is low, so we've got some accessibility issues, but it's still not terrible. So yeah, and just those images is going to save me so much. So the total size was 6,311 kilobytes, about 5 and some change megabytes, which honestly is not huge for a website. It's definitely not ideal, and I can get that way down just by optimizing those images. But optimizing that CSS to serve lighter files is not going to do that much, because even just this CSS file that we have, that index.min.css, it's only 4 kilobytes. So if I break that up, like, I'm just not going to be able to break that up very much. But when you're working with a larger code base, yes, breaking up those CSS files into their component classes, even just, if I were working this, on a multi-page site, maybe like an app, I would break out each one of these sections that I have into their own file. So I would have the browser defaults, I would combine that with the normalized.css, drop that into its own thing. Global styles, I would drop into its own thing. So these are like utility classes. I would probably have a utilities.css. So global elements, I might go in with the utilities class, but probably not for the byline, the icons, the cards. I would drop those into a components.css. Same with title area, the brands. I would have all of the brands be their own file. Specific styles, nav would have its own style sheet, hero would have its own Sass file, and anything that you select with an ID. And that's just going to make debugging things really easy, and it's going to introduce a lot of modularity. So if we're working with the sign up, for example, that's going to be way down here. So, obviously this isn't going to be on every page. Like if you have a profile page, you're not, obviously you don't need to sign up, so you don't need to pull that CSS in. So we wouldn't have that. That would be its own file. And we would create page by page CSS files, which call in the files that we actually need to compile the final CSS. Maybe I'll do a short series on that at some point. Maybe we'll create like a bigger site at some point, but that's kind of where we're at right now. I'm actually working on a proposal for a project right now, and I'm going to try to get that client to allow me to stream building their site. More info on that later, but for now, this is where we're at. And now that I am done ranting for my 5 minutes about modular CSS, let's talk about how we're going to break this down. So the first thing I'm going to want to do is get this header, this menu to collapse, hide this get started button, throw up a menu toggle there. I'm actually really liking the way that this has collapsed. I do want to make that image a little larger. This title area has collapsed beautifully, but we need to edit this grid. This looks okay. I would like to make this wider. Obviously, we need to make that body padding just a little bit smaller, and then we need to collapse these cards. Over here, I like the way that this section has collapsed. Again, we need to make that body padding a little bit smaller. Over here, we need to make this button the full width, or this whole section the full width, and we need to stack this image on top over here. And then probably just collapse this nav into a column, and then collapse or expand this into a row, and then just kind of prettify everything down there. So biggest things that we're going to do right away is adjust that padding, and then we are going to get into working with the menu and everything that I just mentioned. So let's start by getting that padding down. So we're looking at everything with body padding. We're going to add the media max width of 768 pixels, padding. 3M is fine vertically, but horizontally, we want that body padding to be turned down. And I believe right now we're at like 18% or something. I'm gonna pop out this window. Pull that down here. Sorry. Content, the padding there. It's gonna be 91. Let's just see what that body padding is. 18%. All right. So we're going to drop that down by like 2/3. So we're actually just going to say like 6%. And then pop back over here. And that is looking great. Look at that. I like how that is. So again, we're going to collapse that. But we need a way to do that. So we're going to find body padding, throw this mobile padding of 6%, and we're going to find everywhere where body padding is used, and it's only used in one spot. All right, so let's see where these are defined. So this is going to have this content has a defined padding, and that's going to be that. So let's find that content. Aha, padding 18VW. So that should be body padding. And then we'll throw media max width. C8, padding 8M, mobile padding. And that's already looking much better, and that has automatically done that for all of that. And look at that, that's already gotten bigger, that's gotten bigger, and we've improved our site tenfold. We've improved our mobile experience of our site tenfold already. Cool. So let's pop into here. Let's find the nav. Alrighty, and we're going to add a media max width 768 pixels, and I'm just going to pop into the HTML and reference what's going on here. So we've just got our nav set up. All of it is a nav. We don't actually have, hang on, yep, we don't have a header component here, which is cool. We just have the nav. So let's collapse down this menu element and then hide this button. We're also going to add menu toggle to here, and then I believe I'm pulling in font awesome. Okay, I am FA menu. Actually, it's FA bars, isn't it? Yeah, it is FA bars. Okay, cool. So then we're gonna have to hide this button. Add an ID to it. We don't even want to throw that actually into that nav. Maybe not. We'll tackle that in just a second. So then the other thing we want to do is display none there on the menu toggle. And the nav, which I have given the class of what menu? Yeah. Cool. There we go. So that makes that look a lot better. We're going to up that icon size there because that's super duper tiny. Raphael Paul, what's up? How are you doing? Good to see you back. Cool, so that's looking good. I'm going to tackle the functionality of that later, but for now, let's throw that is active class on there. Take a look at what that looks like. Yeah, it looks like trash. So we are going to say width of 100 VW, a height of 100 VH, and then we're going to actually display flex it, say flex direction of column. I'm creating a overlay, so the menu is just going to pop up and overlay the whole screen. And that's going to give us like big enough tap targets. Let's see, what kind of background do we want to put on that? I like that blue. So, where'd that go? There we go. That's what that looks like. All right, so that doesn't look good. Gotta throw a huge z-index on there, and we're gonna position it absolute. Oops. Top 0, left 0. Cool. And we're going to say align items center, align content center, justify content, space between. Makes it look a little bit better. We're going to need to throw a little bit of padding on there. Yeah, and you see that there. So, how those A's have, so we need to take we need to drop the padding. And that should make that right height. Let's see what's going on here. Nav. Here we go. Menu. Alright. There is no padding. It's because we have this horizontal scroll bar on the bottom. That is why we're looking at that. So let's throw a little bit of vertical padding. We'll just throw in 1M on it. And I'll just kind of tighten that up. So we see that, okay, and now we're going to have to change the size of those, font size of those anchor tags. I want it to be bigger so that we have larger tap targets to work with. Cool, and look at that, we're looking pretty good. Pretty good, pretty good. All right. I'm liking that, and now, do we have to actually have that? I don't think we have to have the z-index. And now we just have to bring that, excuse me, we have to bring that, and in that active class. Sure. So, a couple of ways to select things in CSS. So, if I want to select the menu, I can do that, have that menu selector with the class. If I want to select the menu when it's got the class of isActive, I can say I can use the selector by class, so element with the class of menu, and it also has the class of isActive. So that's saying any element that has the class of menu and is active, versus saying any element that has the class of menu but is any element that has the class of isActive that is a child of the menu. So this selects the child. I don't know, I'm pointing at my screen right now and you can't see my finger. So in Sass, if you want to select a child element, you could say that. So that selects styles in here will apply to any element that has the class of isActive that is a child of the menu, of the element with the class of menu. But if you add this little and, this selector is going to be equivalent to this selector. So what that selector is saying is any element that has the class of isActive and also has the class of menu. Does that make sense, Raphael Paul? So we're going to pull this menu toggle when it has the class of isActive. We are going to position that absolutely. It's going to be top, 1em from the top, 1em from the right, and that using JavaScript, we're going to change this class from FA bars to FA close. And that should bring that forward. Let's take a look. Menu toggle. It is right there, but it looks like we need to add a Z index to that. There we go. Cool. So we've got that done. We're not going to work with the functionality right now, but we will very soon. So cool. All right. Caching current selector Sass. Let's type that in and see what that's about. So my computer is 6 years old currently, and it is a little bit slow sometimes. So I don't actually use the stream manager for Twitch I don't use the Twitch browser-based stream editor. I use it on my phone, so I can't copy and paste from my phone to here, unfortunately. All right, the AND character in Sass is unique in that it represents the current selector. It changes as you nest. So let's say you're nested, but you want to access to a selector, back up the nesting a bit. The trick is to cache and use it deeper in the nesting, like which compiles to parent variation active. What? Okay, Raphael, Paul, you are correct. That is complicated. Yeah, I mean, why? I can't think of a time when I would ever need that. When I'm unable to access the parent element because of the way that I write my Sass. So basically, what that's saying is like, okay, if you want to access a parent element within .isActive, yeah, that's just it doesn't seem. It seems like there are better ways to go about that. I would use, if I'm like manipulating an elements class, I would use JavaScript to also manipulate that element's parent class. So like, for the isActive thing, for example, if I want to change the background color of the header when the nav is active, I would just change the class of the header to hasActiveNav with JavaScript and then define some styles for that rather than trying to access that from CSS. Seems, first off, I mean, I'm pretty good with Sass and I didn't know about that, so not that well known. So handing that off to other devs is going to be, interesting to talk about. But it just seems easier to do and like better able to be maintained with JavaScript, but it is a neat trick. That is, in fact, a CSS trick, so I suppose it is appropriate for that site. Great link, by the way. Love Chris Coyer. What a good guy. What a good site. So jumping back into it, I'm just going to leave this. I think that looks really good, quite frankly. So let's pop down to the features section, and we will edit this grid with our media query of 768 pixels. And we're just going to have one column, just one FR, and then I think we're gonna have 6 rows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Grid template rows. That button is quite big. This one here, yeah, we want it to be big because we want our tap targets to be huge. Well, not huge, but we want our tap targets to be relatively sized. So the size of this from here, the top of the button down to the bottom of the button, is the same as the font size in the header here. So since this is a hero, we do want things to be kind of big. But yes, it is kind of big. So, so we'll say repeat 6. I think grid auto is what I want to use here, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, it is. Okay, so the other thing I want to do is I mean, that's working, right? Do we want that to be left aligned, or do we want the headers here to be center aligned? Raphael, Paul, what do you think? Left aligned or center aligned? On a little bit of a tangent there, I did recently have a discussion with a colleague about left aligning, center aligning, justified aligning. And the point that I was trying to make was that in web design, left aligning things, especially like big chunks of text, is typically the way to go. However, we see a lot of center aligning going on here, right? We've got this whole hero section is center aligned, and I think that reads quite fine. And all of our titles are center aligned. We've got this center aligned, yeah, what if we keep the header next to the logo? Where do you mean the nav up here? Or oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, here in the sorry, I understand what you're saying. Cool. Yeah, let's get that done. So let's look at the markup and see what we're working with features. So we have the title area with the span, the byline. We're actually right here. So the icon and the H3. Yeah, so to do that, we can, I believe we just throw this here. Let's see. Display inline block. And then find this. Display inline block. There we go. Beautiful. So we'll find that card. Alright, that is a card, isn't it? Alright. Where's our icon class? Card icon H3. So we're going to do the direct icon child, the direct H3, display inline block. There we go. So that kind of screws things up just a little bit here, because that changes the way that our icon shows. So I want the span to we were relying on inline flex before, so I think actually then if we just do that, there we go. Cool. So a little bit of a padding left on that, just to break that space up a little bit. Cool, that looks really good. That's a good idea, Raphael Paul. That looks really stinking good. I like that. Cool. So now we're going to do the same thing down here, and I will take that advice again, and these icons with their titles will also be inlined. So we're going to pop down over here, and I just remembered I actually need to throw this into a media query. Let me just do that real quick. Oh. I need to also stop making typos. Coffee's a little bit cold. The client project you were talking about, is it going to be in React, Vue, or something else? I don't really use any JavaScript frameworks like that on anything for clients. That project is going to be probably just HTML, CSS. It's going to be a rather small project, just a couple of pages, not much interactivity. They're working with a pretty tight budget, but that's about all I can say right now about that. So no, it's just going to be pretty much the same thing what I'm doing here, just HTML, CSS, a little bit of JavaScript. So for these cards down here, these are the horizontal ones. So we want to find that is horizontal, and we want to pop a media query on there. I need to stop doing that. All right. So we want these to be card is horizontal. We want the flex direction to be row or column rather. Cool. And then we see that the card content has a width of calc 50% minus 1em, and same with the card image. So we need to go ahead and say the width needs to be calc 100% minus 1em. And it'll fill out that available space. I think that's looking real good. And then let's take a look at that icon H3 thing we got going on. Card content icon H3. Okay, card content icon H3. So the icon already is the right. It's inline flex. And we need to give it a little bit of padding. Cool. Look at that. Beautiful. Looking great. This section, already in love with it. And now we need to pop this up there in the what did I name that section? Name that sign up. Alrighty. So we're using this as a background image. We are not. Okay. So we've got the content, text, and the image. Content. Alright. So what we're going to do is throw a media in there. Do I have a portfolio site? Yes, I do. I'm going to type it in the comments right now. And I'm typing on mobile, so it's really difficult because it won't let me type. There we go. Let's make sure that worked. It worked. Cool. Max width 768. We gotta pop this into a flex direction of column, and then each of the children, the text, and the image are going to have a width of calc 100% minus 2em. See how we're looking? Cool. And I want to flip that order. I want the image to come before the text. And to do that, I think I can just throw order 1. Order 1. And then on the text, order 2. Cool. Oh, did I do that on here? I did. So that's going to confuse things. 1. And order 2. There we go. Cool. Can in fact do that. So text, order 2. Image, order 1. cool. I'm liking that. I'm gonna throw a little bit of a margin in there. Margin bottom. We're just gonna say like 2M just for some spacing. Whoa, there it goes. Everything's falling over. All right, cool. I think that's looking good. And now for the footer. We have done something a little bit erroneous, and we have hidden our nav in the footer. So what we need to do is display it again. So what we're doing here. All right. So that nav is still hidden down there because we have just done the element selector on that. Logo, menu, social. Okay. Dot menu, display, flex. Ah! There we go. Flex, direction, column. Okay. That's looking kind of terrible. And that is because, oh, add a wrap on there. No. Okay. So where's this coming from? Why is that not playing nice? Flex. It is flexing in a column. Okay. Do have that going. Copyright. What are we looking at here? We don't have any sort of like explicit height set out on there. Height, yeah, no, we don't. That doesn't do anything. Okay. Yeah. Go like that. But I don't know what's going on here. It's clear. This is kind of strange. There. No, not quite. Am I a fan of Seinfeld? I would not say I am, no. I'm familiar with it. Would not say I'm a fan. This is so strange. Huh. I don't have any sort of weird thing going on here at all. This doesn't have any sort of like negative margin on it or anything. Oh, because that's just flexing. Have any sort of weird position. Okay, so let's go back up here to the nav. There we go. It was something with that. Alright, cool. I saw giddy up in your site. A stupid assumption. Giddy up. Where did you, I don't know where that is. But okay. Yeah, no worries. I mean, it's a phrase. We're going to give this nav some more. The font size is going to be like 1.5M, just because it's really tiny. That's going to be hard to press. And then we're going to add some padding to those elements as well. 0 on the horizontal. And we are going to center align those. 1M is too much. We'll give it half an M. Cool. That's looking real pretty. These social icons need to be bigger. And that will be accomplished with, alright, find that social. Size is not a thing. Height is. Before. Okay, so we might have to do that with some JavaScript. Let's see if Font Awesome actually provides like a thing for that, because they might. Changing the sizes with CSS. That would be pretty cool, wouldn't it? Docs. Okay. Sass. Sizing. Here we go. Increase the font size on the getter site. Maybe. You mean here? Yeah, I could. I'm definitely not going to do that right now, though. You can also directly style an icon size by setting a font size in your project CSS. All right, cool. So we can actually just set the font size right here. Yeah, so that's one reason I don't dig certain typography systems, because it will, did I say that? Okay, so let's, I see. Because it uses like the system font size to base everything around Ooh, that's still really small. And like if your font size is like tiny, it just like rolls with that. It doesn't like set a global thing. Yeah, so yeah, so that's gonna be a issue with Balma, unfortunately. I'll give a another thing there. I'll add a little bit of padding, 0.5em, just to be relevant. All right, there we go. I'm liking how that's looking. We'll give just a little bit of padding on top, bottom there. Break that up a little bit. And then that's looking fine down there. Those tap targets are going to be a little small, and we can fix that. Flex direction, column, align items, center. Oh, don't be sorry. You're asking questions, you're getting answers. Sharing information, the free flow of knowledge. Justify content, center. Copyright. Oh, am I under the wrong? No, I'm not. Yes, I am. All right. There we go. Flex direction of column and justify content space between. All right. Or actually, justify content center. And then each of those things. Yeah, there we go. Breaks that up a little bit more. And then I'm going to add, I think each of those are going to be their own thing. Let's see, display block on there. Yeah, I'm going to fix that. All right. And all of the A children display block text align of center. Beautiful. We'll make those, we'll get that font size to be a little bit bigger. Oh, whoops. That's quite large. And let's do the same up here because I think the font size we're working with here is also too small. Font size of 1.5em. We'll bump that up to like 2. Right on, that's awesome. Congratulations for that, and good luck in your education. Max height 100%. The logo height, we're gonna get that up to 4em. All right. And for these, we're going to pop that up to 2. And then I'm going to throw a little bit of a margin bottom on this logo because of the fact that these tap targets are just like super duper close. Looking at your Sass, I have a lot to learn. It's not as hard as you think, though. There we go. Look at that footer. I'm pretty happy with the way that this is looking right now. And it looks like the last thing we have to do here is throwing that functionality for the nav toggle in there, which is going to be pretty fun. I like doing this stuff. So we're going to pop this out to be just below our breakpoint, so that we have a little bit more. And we see this still looks really nice here. I still like how this looks. This is a pretty solid design overall. So, all right. So just for reference, what we want to happen is when this button right here in the nav is clicked, pop that down, go like that. This is the menu toggle button. We need to do 3 things. We need to add the isActive class to the menu. We need to add the isActive class to the menu toggle. And we need to stop the body from scrolling. So to do that, we're going to find our utility classes, global, there we go, and we are going to say when it has the overflow hidden class, we're just going to say overflow hidden. And that's going to stop the body from scrolling. So let's get an index file spun up, which we do have linked, if I'm not mistaken. We do not. I'll throw that right here. Wow, I need to spell correctly. Assets. JS, index.js. So we're going to add our document event listener. Saying when everything's loaded, add an event listener to the global document for when the DOM content is ready. When that happens, execute this anonymous arrow function. An arrow function is the same thing as typing this, but it eliminates having to type a function, and it does a couple of other things too, which I won't get into here because that is very high, or that's a little bit more level, lower level. I'm trying to work on like a little bit of a higher level. So we're gonna first we have to find the element that we are trying to listen for. So we want to find this menu toggle. So we'll say let toggle equal document query selector menu toggle. If we're doing this for elements that appear more than once on the page, we would do this a little differently. So like I recently did a site where I had some collapsibles, so like some FAQ sections, and I said let CLs equal array dot prototype dot slice dot call document dot query selector all collapsible. So this selects all of the collapsibles elements and just pops them into an array so that we can iterate over it. But we don't need to do all of that here. We just need to get this element and add an event listener. So we'll say toggle. So if that toggle is present, we'll add an event listener. And the event that we will be listening for is the click event. We'll take that event and pass it to an anonymous function. Prevent the default action of that because the browser is going to think, hey, that should be a link, but it's not a link. So we're going to prevent that default action, that default browser behavior from happening. And now we need to get a couple of more things. We need to get the menu. Again, we're only working with one of these, I believe, right? No, we're not. So we need to add an ID to this so that we're not screwing anything up and selecting the wrong element. So we'll use main nav, so we get that. And then I didn't find a link to bound couriers in the site. Is it just for demo? No, it is not just for demo. Let's talking about right here, just for the case study. Oh no, yeah, I probably should have linked to it. I don't know why I didn't, but I will. Did I link here? No, looks like I didn't. I don't know why I didn't. That was kind of dumb. Here we go. There you go. I think that's it. Let me make sure. Yep, there you go. All right. So we have the menu, and we need the body equals document dot body. So that's one really cool thing is you don't need to use the query selector on document dot body. But if we wanted to, we would go like this. There we go. And then the menu dot we need to add the class list. So we need to add the class is active. We'll use that with the class list API. And then to the body, we need to add the overflow hidden class, which is just overflow hyphen hidden. And then to the toggle, we need to get the child and remove the class FA bars and add the class FA close. And we're going to open up our console because I am expecting some JS errors. Yeah, something happened there. Something's not firing. So let's pull up in the elements. What's going on here? Did I not? I didn't save the HTML. There we go. Okay, let's go. See if the click is registering. It is not. All right. Click is still not registering. Bet you I'm doing something real dumb here. Like using DOM content ready and not DOM content loaded. Yeah, there we go. All right. Why is it saying it's null? Again, I need to save my files. There we go. All right, now we should work. There we go. Cool. All right, so we don't need that. We don't need that. And let's pop over here to our elements and see what's going on. This menu toggle also needs the class isActive to pull it forward so that we can hit that. So toggle.classList.add is active. There we go. Okay, so we did all that, but now it's not working when we try to exit. And to fix that, instead of saying classList.add, we just say classList.toggle. So as long as we're toggling everything at the same time, that should toggle everything in sync. And for some reason, we've got some overflow here. So let's make sure that the body is getting that class overflow hidden. It is, but overflow hidden. That class is not being applied. Oh. All right, there we go. And why is that class not being applied? Okay. Very strange. What's going on here? All right. Let's just go like this. Don't know why that class is not being applied. There's not an issue going on here. And it's the right class name. Okay. Let's look at the sources. Try to figure out what the dealio is. Overflow hidden. It's there. Huh. Not sure why that's not working. It is being added. Oh, over low. That's why. Yeah, that's the importance of checking for typos. Bam. There we go. Looking good. All right. Raphael, Paul, you have been my only guest for this hour, and I appreciate you for joining me. I think I'm done with this build. So unless you have any other questions, I think I'm going to say auf Wiedersehen and get ready for this interview today. Thanks for hanging out, watching me build this. I'm very happy with this. What a good idea from you to get these elements here inlined. I think that looks really great. So Friday I'll be back. I'm not sure what I'm going to be streaming. If there's something you'd like to see, just let me know, and I will very heavily consider it. Yeah. Otherwise, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for chiming in, and I will see you on Friday. As always, this stream will be uploaded to YouTube for archival purposes because we know YouTube is the best archival platform and they never take anything down. I will. I've got a blog post running with all of my Twitch streams. I'm online in general at natenorthway.com. I'm on Facebook. Well, I'm not on Facebook in any professional capacity. We are also online at on Twitter at the Northway, _Northway, and on LinkedIn and on CodePen and on Frontend Mentor and a bunch of stuff. Can we do some improvements to your sites? Raphael Paul, if there's something specific that you like to see, I mean, it's going to be a little. It depends really because a lot of those things are final products, and I don't have say over what happens with them now, aside from hosting and stuff, because it's all client stuff. So, I mean, it depends upon what you want to see. If there's something you want to see specifically, shoot me an email, and I'll look into it. But for the most part, anything that's published on my website, as far as like any previous work I've done, I don't have control over that now. So my portfolio site. What's wrong with my portfolio site? I'm very happy with my portfolio site. Shoot me an email and see what we can do. So for now, I'm gonna go. Thanks for hanging out. I will see you in 2 days on Friday.